Hey, Geekscapists, welcome to a brand new Geekscape podcast. I'm Jonathan London, your host. And if this is your first Geekscape, well, it's not mine. I've been doing this show for 15, 16 years, which reminds me, oh, yeah, check the audio settings, Jonathan. Make sure you're talking to the microphone you want to be talking through. Yes, I did. I checked the audio settings right now, and I'm ready to Geekscape. We have a great one for you today. Our friend Kyle Kuchta is on the show. You may be like, oh, Kyle, who? What? But if you are a Geekscapist who watches or listens to the other shows on the network, I think our biggest show, numerically, yeah, I see all the numbers. It's Horror Movie Night. I love Horror Movie Night, and it is. I think Horror Movie Night. Well, we're not going to count the St. Mort show, which was the one that Matt started first. But way back when I started Geekscape in 2006, early on, Matt Kelly, I couldn't shake him. He was a lovable stalker, wonderful audience member, and he's like my little brother now. He was in my wedding party. And he was the first person from the audience to say, "Hey, I want to have a podcast. You've gotten me into podcasting." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry about that, but he's run with it, and he created with his friend Scott way over on like Reddit, the horror Reddit. They created Horror Movie Night, and it's gone through several co-hosts. But I think they locked in now on this guy. He's a filmmaker. He's funny as hell, and he's a great co-host with Scott and Matt. Kyle Kuchta. He would have probably been co-host earlier, but unlike the other two, he has a life. No, I'm kidding. He just has a kid. I don't know if Matt doesn't have a kid. Scott has a dog, doesn't count. Yeah, Kyle's the successful one, so he's not. He took him a while to like be like, fine, I'm getting worn down. I'll talk horror movies with y'all every week, but I'm trying to make them. And we're going to talk about his most recent project. It's called The Wind Within. Maybe you know Kyle from his film The Woodman. It's not called The Woodman, Jonathan. You know it's not. Check the notes, buddy. It's The Woodsman. And I kept telling myself it's not The Woodsman because obviously that's the name of the Kevin Bacon movie. Don't worry about it. But maybe you caught it on the festival circuit because it played pretty well on the horror festival circuit. It's got a couple screenings left. We'll talk to you about that. We're going to be talking a lot of filmmaking, which is what I want to bring you. I just going to pat myself on the back on the show. I think it's been really good. Tony Fleece a couple weeks ago talking about comics. That was incredible. I think Local Man's a fantastic book. It's the kind of book that people are going to be talking about in a couple of years when it gets adapted into a TV show or a movie, and people are like, "Oh, dude, do you have issue 1?" Well, I told you to go get issue 1, Geekscape. So don't be left out in the cold. Go pick up that Local Man number 1. The other one is, and this is great. I loved. Not that I didn't love talking Shazam 2 with Ian Kerner, which is also on the feed 2 episodes ago. It's fine. It's fun. I got to talk to Ian about the superhero movies. But the Bragg brothers last week on the show talking about this movie, Pinball, The Man Who Saved the Game. Like, how great is that story about the man who literally, I think, saved pinball in the major cities here in the U.S. By overturning that ban that was going on in New York, in the major cities. And it came down to a game he played in front of City Hall. And it's incredible, an incredible story. And of course, it's documented in this movie, not a documentary, a fictional film, Pinball, The Man Who Saved the Game, which is up on like Apple, Amazon, all these places. We did the episode, and then I got a nice post on Geekscape from a friend. I think his name is Chris. I'm going to check Geekscape. Wow, how prepared are you, Jonathan? Way to go, pal. I had everything in the notes but his name. I need his name because he's a Geekscapist and y'all are important to me. Michael Karpinski, longtime listener Michael Karpinski, wrote and he said really nicely. So like an hour ago, I finished watching Pinball, The Man Who Saved the Game. Amazing. Was difficult to find for me. I don't know where he lives. Totally worth the price if you can. I would never even have heard of it if not for Jonathan Lennon's post about him doing the Geekscape. Which I now want to listen to even more. Well, thank you, dude. You're a longtime listener. So the fact, people come in waves. Sometimes they want to listen. Sometimes they don't. It's all good. Y'all have busy lives, like Kyle. Only Matt Kelly does not. I laughed more times during this one movie than I have in the entirety of life in the past month. I hope everything's going well with you, but the movie is great. So not to take away from the movie, but I hope everything's good with you, Michael. If you're not, quote unquote, that kind of nerd, I still think it's a great movie, but oh my God, I had to pause a few times because I was laughing so much. And it's basically a biopic, so humorous, but not a comedy movie. 2 or 3 scenes tugged at my heartstrings as intended. Great movie. Will watch again. He tells you to go check it out. That's quite the endorsement. Thank you, Michael, for writing that up. He said best I found was $6.99 on streaming. I found a crappy copy, but this is one I wish I could afford to actually pay for it to support it. Wait, did you pirate the movie Dog? Did you just admit in your endorsement that you pirated the movie Dog? Mikey, all right, not going to slap you on the wrist because this is a very nice endorsement, and hopefully you got some other people to check out Pinball, the man who saved the game. But if you can support the creators that I bring on Geekscape, like, it's a great way to thank them for coming on Geekscape. Kyle Kuchta is one of those. He's got this Seed and Spark we're going to get to. And don't think that I'm a jerk and just telling y'all to go out there and practice what I preach. Scott Berman, you may remember him from a few episodes ago, not too far back. I think it was maybe early. Time is fluid. Scott Berman did this book for Dark Horse called White Savior with Eric Nguyen, and they were on the show talking about it. It's a fun fish out of water story. Issue 3, I think, just came out from Dark Horse. He was in town for WonderCon, which is this past weekend, and he was doing a signing at Golden Apple. He hit me up an email. I was like, hey, it's Scott from Geekscape. Do you remember? Of course I remember. I remember all of the Geekscapists. And he said he was in town doing the signing before he goes on a WonderCon. I went down, I met him. I bought a copy, and had him sign it for me, immediately devaluing it. Just kidding. I love you, Scott. And hung out, had some lunch with him and his buddies, got to meet his friends, and it was great. So Geekscape, the gift in the community that keeps on giving. So 16 years going strong. Speaking of that, we got one of our favorite contributors here. He's the co-host of Horror Movie Night. He's awesome, and I hope he stays with Geekscape a ton. If he doesn't want to keep doing Horror Movie Night, I just hope he does his own podcast. So hopefully it's about filmmaking, because that's what we're going to be talking about here on this Geekscape episode. I'm going to start the show up. We're going to be right back talking to Kyle Kuchta, and hang tight because we have a really, really good one here for you today. Or this week. So enjoy. Let's go. All right, Geekscapists, we got a great one here with Kyle. But the comments are popping. Hopefully you're in the comments, maybe on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening to it. You're a part of this, so I like the comments. But Chris Robinson says, hey, Horror Movie Night, numbers don't count. Yeah, they do. And Matt Kelly's trying to keep his roof over his head. Yeah, they do count. Yeah, numbers count. I look at the numbers, and if a Geekscape show doesn't cut it, they're gone. You hear me, Shane? You hear me, Dynamic Resolution, the new video game show that we have on the Geekscape network? You hear me? You get 3 downloads, you're out of here, buddy. I know you just went to PAX East and you're going to talk about it on Dynamic Resolution. You're probably going to milk that cow for the next month. Oh, when I was at PAX East. Listen, you get more than 3 subscribers, you can stay. But till then, you got to prove it, okay? I'm looking at the numbers, okay? That really only goes for Shane. He's the only one in danger of being kicked off the network. Matt Kelly, of course, says still here, always watching. Yep. This is the hobby he picked, and now it's a lifestyle, and that's that. Okay, let's get his co-host from Horror Movie Night, the person keeping him out of prison, Kyle Kuchta. Buddy, how are you doing, man? And apologies,
Good.
like when it rained, a bunch of LA turned really green, which meant a lot of pollen and stuff got kicked up in the air, and this shit is like Last of Us, so I have a little bit of allergies. I'll try and mute myself, but you might hear me cough a little bit.
It's fine. Here we've had no snow, and that's done sort of the same. It's somehow had the same effect where we've all been just like the consistent like pre-winter cold, because winter's never shown up. So it's been a nightmare, especially with a toddler. But listen, I just want to set the record straight. Matt also keeps me out of jail, and Scott is is the one just trying to kill us both. It's not. It's like a buddy system, but not.
It's got like the River Phoenix and Stand By Me, who's like, "Come on, guys, don't fight," and then he ends up getting killed in a knife fight later on, trying to break stuff up.
Right.
That's Scott.
I actually, yeah, that's for sure.
That's the guy who's like, "Come on, guys, don't fight," and he looks down and there's like something stuck in his ribs, and he's like,
"Yeah,"
oh.
and he's like, "Of course, like, of course, it's me who is the demise." But no, man, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Not only on this show, but to be on Geekscape at all is very, very, very cool. So
it's fun, man. I got to tell you, and like Matt kind of just does what he wants with the podcast network, and like, you know, I love Matt. He is like a brother to me, and if he kind of has a better sense of the landscape of podcasting and what's out there and who's out there as far as podcasters in the community, especially the geeky stuff, the horror stuff. Y'all just went to a horror convention and started getting back in that game again, because that's starting to rev up this year. I didn't go down to WonderCon, but y'all went down to
we went to Creature Feature Weekend in Gettysburg, and man, it was a blast. It's like it's tough. I mean, well, you know, having been part of the geek world and the comic book world, you see and saw these conventions blow up in a way that was unfathomable to me. You know, as a horror fan, it was adjacent. You know, when Walking Dead came out, all that stuff blew up. And then we were getting cons everywhere, and it sort of like oversaturated the market a little bit. But then COVID hit, so it's I don't want to say it's a rebuilding, like, you know, 5 years, but no, it certainly is. But it kind it is. So
dude,
like something
were
like
straight up feral at San Diego Comic-Con last year.
Yeah,
like they didn't know how to act.
No,
they didn't. They were coming out like getting their tans back, and they were all pasty. And at Comic-Con. They were acting in a way I'd never really seen people act at a con before. It was a little ruder, a little less socially acceptable, but we survived, and I just paid the deposit for this year, so we'll see you in late July in San Diego. You're welcome to join us, Kyle, if you're able to make it sunny San Diego in late July.
Is it the last week in July?
I think it's the 19th through something.
I mean,
I love it.
I would. It's one of my. I do hope to go sometime, but at the same time, I'm like, I gotta wait for the right opportunity.
Well, just
whatever that means. I don't know what that means.
Because Shane's spot is always up for grabs.
Yeah, well, so I've heard. I've heard it. So he's kind of teetering on the edge.
He's always there. You know, I mean, hey, how are you on video games? You want to take over dynamic resolution?
Oh my God, I just bought a PlayStation 2 last year from a yard sale, so I think I'm pretty good at it.
You know, we're ready. Yeah, you're in. The new host of Dynamic Resolution on the Geekscape Network, the video game podcast, Kyle Kuchta. Let's actually talk about what you're about. I got to tell you, like, I'm happy. I love the Femme Regard Girls. We don't talk as much, but they're the other filmmaking podcast here on the network. They're great. I love having filmmakers on the network. I love just talking to filmmakers as a film nerd. I love the Woodsman, man.
Well, as a filmmaker yourself, man, you just dropped the music video and it's killer, which really loved.
As a horror fan, I hope you liked it.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I love when things just turn on their heads a little bit, and it was lovely. But
yeah, thank you. The Josie Cotton video for what's it called? It's called Disco Ball. It's on YouTube. You can search for it, but don't search for it now. Listen to Kyle. Tell me about the Woodsman, man, because that'll eventually be something people can see online, but it's still kind of going through festivals. It's played a ton of festivals, dude. Like, man, congratulations.
Thank you so much. It was really exciting because you know, leading up to this, I was in a documentary world. You know, I had done a documentary about horror conventions called Phantasm. Now this is a decade ago, but like, this is what happens when you get into documentaries,
and they take so long,
and they take a long time. You know, I'm still in the documentary world in a lot of
well, I'm learning that fictional feature films take forever too.
So. Right, they take forever in their own lane.
Just on the production window. The production window is acute. But the stuff before that, before somebody starts saying those checks. So you had this fangasm. That's what it's called, Phantasm?
Phantasm.
So,
sorry. But, no, that's all right. There was
ectoplasms.
Bless you. There was a Phangasm, and there's of course Don Coscarelli's Phantasm. As a senior in college, I wasn't thinking about searchability of any of these things. I was just like, this is fun. So I did.
Like the Woodsman is the Kevin Bacon. thing,
Well,
right?
and that was so I'm still not
Different
good at
tonal
titling.
movie. It's okay.
I think The Wound Within is probably going to be like the title that is most effectively
If you cycle through
able
the
to look.
W's long enough, you're
Yeah,
gonna
you'll get to
find a
it. You'll get
name.
to
You're
it.
like, I like
Yeah,
W's to
yeah.
start my
I
films.
didn't know The Woodsman with Kevin Bacon existed until we already submitted this and it got accepted to Chattanooga Film Festival, which was
Oh
where
my
we
God.
premiered last year.
It's a great
Which
movie. It's just heavy because it's about
heavy
a
as shit.
guy
I
who's
know.
pedophilic
I
and has
know.
a propensity
Yeah.
to. It's about a guy who's broken.
Yeah,
He's
which was
fucked.
crazier because that's exactly what our movie's about too. So I had no idea. No, that's
I
not
love The
true.
Woodsman.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a fun short, man.
It's yeah.
You can
Thank
see it.
you,
You
thank
guys got to
you.
go online and watch The Woodsman.
So
Not
yeah,
now.
so
Not now.
it's not yet. It's gonna.
Oh.
So we are planning, fingers crossed, for a July release, a Christmas in July release of The Woodsman. But we have 2 more screenings left for it. We have one in Seattle on April 22nd, which is the Bone Bat Comedy of Horrors Film Festival.
You gonna go to that one?
No,
Oh,
it's
Seattle's a
actually my
great
son's
horror town.
birthday. It's
Bring 'em.
it's yeah, I know. Yeah,
Like,
just
we
blow
did-
off the family for this second birthday and just bring him.
We did like ZombieCon for 2 years in Seattle, and it was such a great
Yeah.
home for a horror festival. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw
No,
we got Bruce Campbell ordained so he could do a zombie wedding, and it
no
was
kidding. Really?
I'll send you the footage. It's in our
Yeah.
film Doc of the Dead. I sat there and filmed it myself. As
Amazing.
he and Ted Raimi
Yeah.
performed a legit wedding.
Oh, and
Everyone was
Ted's-
dressed as zombies, and they
Ted's
read for the
great, too.
Necronomicon. It was amazing.
That rules.
And that was Seattle. Seattle's a
Yeah.
great place for
Yeah,
it.
no, see, I've never been, and I've always wanted to go, and they've
Your
been.
kid will understand. How old is he?
Yeah, he's 2.
He won't know.
So that plane
He
ride will
won't
be a
know.
blast. Yeah, no, he won't have.
No,
any
don't
clue.
even take him.
Yeah. Oh, just leave him here. My family.
He
would
won't
love it.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went to a film festival a week after my wedding.
Yeah.
Not even.
Oh, but that's good. Bless you.
Santa Fe
That's
Film
work.
Festival, where I saw pinball a week after my wedding.
Yeah, I think I can swing it for work. It'll be fine. And then
It's work, baby.
May 6th is in Maynard, Massachusetts for a first-time festival called Strange Maynard International Film Festival, but it's put on by another amazing filmmaker named Erica Stockwell. And because I'm from New England, there's a lot of like familiar faces, people who we've been on other circuits with, a lot of fringy stuff, experimental horror, so on. So yeah,
Fringy stuff.
just
What is
a little
that?
fringy stuff, you know. It's
Fringy
just
stuff's like the weird
ruffles
stuff.
and fringe and no, the weird
Okay.
stuff. The weird.
It's not
weird
like when
stuff.
it's not like when the Ren Fair packs up at night and it's
No,
it's time
no,
to party.
We have a really good experimental / like, I mean, just fringe stuff. It's like not straight horror. It's kind of fringe is the only word that I can think of right now, and it's not the fringe that you were thinking of, unfortunately.
Okay.
Though we'll work
All right.
on getting that festival together. But then
you into the weird
that's-
stuff?
you into that
It's like
weird
you remember
stuff?
in like the video store that it's like, what's behind that door over there? It's the
Oh,
fringe stuff.
Oh, that was all fringe. Like
That
the
was
doorway
all
was
fringe.
covered in fringe to get.
Hey, what's
into
going
that,
on
yeah.
back there? And like
Yeah.
as a kid, you were
A
like,
fringe curtain.
you tell your brothers to like run, like, hey, distract the guy. I'm gonna try go in there
Kinda
for
peek.
2 seconds and see
Yeah.
a boob.
Dude, that was scarier than any horror movie. Was trying to like the adrenaline of trying to sneak into the back room of the video store just to get a peek. You know, it was like you were
And
like,
they
well,
weren't
you didn't know what
behind
was
a
going
door.
to happen to you. No,
like
it was
you
never a
said, they're
door.
behind like a curtain or a fringe or something.
Yeah.
See, that crap was on purpose, man. Like
It was
they
on purpose.
they
knew.
wanted some 10-year-old, 8-year-old,
Mhm.
9-year-old at my age, I was 17, to see through the fringe,
Yeah.
catch a little hint of like
Yep.
USA Up All Night,
Yes. Yeah.
and be like, I gotta get behind this curtain. Man.
Yeah.
I gotta
Yeah.
see what's in
I
there. And
need
it's
to
like,
see Hard Ticket to Hawaii. And that
I
wasn't
gotta
my curtain,
see
but-
this. Yeah, I gotta see these Julie Strain movies.
Yeah.
And did it ever live up to the expectations when you
No,
got back there?
Well, no.
Was it,
No,
like, too
the
much?
room was, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, the room's a lot smaller than I thought it was.
Why do they have so many like copies of Lair of the fucking White Worm? You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
what
Like,
is
no.
this?
Hey, man, listen, if there's a room with a lot of copies of Lair of the White Worm, it's a room I want to be in. As we've talked about on the
You know what I like about Geekscape the most?
set.
And this happens at the conventions. It happens when we're with Matt. It happens remotely on the show. Is that dropping the deep cuts, man?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody stopping at no
No.
Lair of the White Worm
No.
reference. They're like, you're playing the hits, London.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
playing the hits. I love that we're just rolling. We're speaking
Yeah.
our language, baby.
Yeah.
Tell me about this horror convention and being back with Matt and Scott. Like,
Yeah.
that must have been fun. I
Yeah.
loved the pictures. I love seeing Geekscape is hanging out outside of me because I don't have to smell them.
Well,
What? No, that's rude. That is rude.
No, but it's true. I think that luckily Matt and Scott smell lovely.
They do.
So it was really manageable. But no, Creature Feature Weekend down in Gettysburg is a relatively new convention, rather. And I think that maybe their first show was 2019, so like right before COVID.
Yeah.
But then we had gone back. Matt and I had gone back in August of last year without Scott, unfortunately. But then this year, the band was all back together and we got to do a live podcast with our friends over at Camp Nightmare and Jersey Ghouls and 365 or Christmas
And Jersey Ghouls is
365.
on the network.
Exactly.
That's
So,
great.
I mean,
We
we
always
got
got a
yeah,
plug.
we
Don't
got
worry,
you.
Matt.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Matt. We got you.
Jonathan's got you. And then Scott performed during the concert night evening. There was like 4 bands or whatever, and
Yeah.
Scott opened up, and that was cool. And it was just nice to meet fans, meet listeners that we've not met in person, meet ones that we see, once a year. And I mean, it's the same thing goes whether you're a convention attendee or a vendor or even a guest or whatever. Even honestly, even like some of the hotel employees, it's one of those things where it's like you only see each other once a year, and it's a blast. And like you just you look forward to it again the next year. And Craig Yastrzemski is what I want to say his last name is, but I'm not positive. He's the guy who runs Creature Feature Weekend. He's got a big heart, and he really, really, really loves what he's doing, which is, as we were talking about before, sometimes the difference between some of these like bigger conventions that are just sort of like
and
grabbing at them, and film festivals too.
Film festivals, Kyle.
It's
like
absolutely true.
I may or may not have laid into a couple, one or two. The count is at 2.
Okay.
In having El Rey go through festivals the last year and a half or so,
Mm-hmm.
there were 2 festivals that were just cash grabs. Like, you can't defend them, bro. Like, you set up a festival and spent the least amount of money and did the least amount of promoting your filmmakers that are propping up your film festival. You did the least amount to, and it's not a real film festival, man.
No. It's hard to vet that stuff until you get into it, and then you're like, shit.
Totally.
Because
they're like, oh, we're playing at the AMC 16 in downtown Burbank, and we're rolling out a red carpet,
sick.
And we're inviting, Getty to come, photographers to come take photos of the red carpet, and we're doing all this stuff, but none of it's a networking event.
No.
None of it is, you go in and it's like, great, once it got past the red carpet, you could have heard a mouse fart in that damn theater. Or it's one of those things where like, what didn't they let in?
Right.
You
played
what
like did they
8th or 9th or 10th in a or more, 12th in like a line of shorts, and everybody invited their friends, but after every short, like 10 people leave.
Right. No, I know it.
10 people leave.
We we ran into that with our doc Survival of the Film Freak, so the one after Phantasm, but before the Woodsman, with my filmmaking partner Bill Fulkerson, who's one of the cinematographers on Woodsman and will be the cinematographer on The Wound Within for those who are keeping tally.
Woodsman's great, guys.
Yeah.
Woodsman's great.
Thank you so much, man. And but we didn't know, and it's really hard to vet that stuff. So it's 2018. It's a feature-length documentary about cult cinema, so it has some roots in genre film festivals, but it also can be doc fests. And then we hit 1 or 2 that you're just like, oh, I didn't know it was going to be this.
It's always going to be like that.
Yeah, it will. And it's going to happen again. You know what I mean? Like I will inevitably find like a first, second, third year festival or something that's been around a while and maybe switched hands or something. It's bound to happen, and all you can do is make the best of it. But like sometimes, man, it's
maybe the best experience that I had this year was just because I wanted to go to Austin. I went to the Lake Travis Film Festival, which is like in its 3rd or 4th year, and I was like, well, it's playing in Austin, so I'm gonna go down there and at least see my parents. Parents ended up getting COVID. I had to stay in a different building. I did not end up even being able to hug my parents. It was painful emotionally, but
so rough.
The film festival was great.
Oh, that's
and
good.
I loved it. It was such people who cared. It was run by filmmakers, and I think that's important. Like, you got to have the filmmakers. They know what filmmakers want. It's like, so
if we can do that real quick, then I'm going to do one too, because Bridgeport Film Festival it's going to be in its 4th or 5th year, and it's Bridgeport, Connecticut. It's not, I have a lot of love for Bridgeport, but if you tell Bridgeport to anybody who knows anything about New England or Connecticut or anything, they're like, no, I don't want anything to do with Bridgeport.
Like,
However,
oh,
Jason
it's
Combs
a
over
mafia
there.
town.
Yeah, no, it's
You're
like
gonna get robbed.
they got bad vibes, but
It's
it's
like how they
truly
talked
not.
about what's the place in Rhode Island, the capital of Rhode Island, like
Oh,
it's
Providence. Yeah.
Providence, and like
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
people were
Yeah.
like, "It's a mafia town," and
And
then the
it's
second it wasn't a mafia town, it fell apart, and they were like, "Can it please be a mafia town again, so somebody can run it?" And like,
please.
didn't the guy become mayor? Like the dude who was like a
Oh,
mafia
yeah. And I love
became
Providence too.
mayor? Yeah,
But,
great.
it's one of those things where but like you also have to give those festivals a chance too. So it's like, a festival doesn't get to its second year without its first year. So it's like you can't
Mhm.
always knock those early years. And Bridgeport Film Festival is doing something that is like really, really supportive of all the filmmakers. Like they made it feel like every frame of everybody's film was important. You know what I mean? It's like it was that detailed. So, experiences like that too, when you kind of like get in on the ground floor or can see a festival succeed in what it's set out to do, and then also be part of it yourself and like be rewarded
Sure.
in that way is so cool. So like,
It it
a
feels
a
personal.
bummer to not have seen your parents, but clearly that festival is now, and that's one that you're
It's
going to
awesome.
recommend to people and like talk
And I
about
did.
and suggest.
They
And
came
yeah,
out and did some pop-up networking thing here in LA, and I
okay,
got it.
yeah,
I told my friends to go and see it. I went
yeah,
out there. They were great, and I'm going to Austin next week, and I'll invite some of them to
nice,
connect.
yeah, loved it.
It'll be fun, guys. Look at how this networks. What got you into this game, Kyle? Like, talk to me. I don't know you at all,
Yeah,
man. Like, I know
yeah,
Matt too well. I
yeah,
know Scott somewhat.
yeah,
But
yeah.
Kyle, I don't know much about you at all, man. Like,
Okay.
what was like?
Well,
Give me your Marvel origin story.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, I guess I was always like a storyteller in some aspect. Like my during Halloween season, my grandparents and I, and my parents, but mostly my grandparents and I, would set up this thing called the Haunted Yard, which was just like a family friendly version of a haunted house, but it was outside in our yard, and we had a race car trailer that we then broke up into like three little vignettes, three little rooms. So one would be a torture chamber, so you'd have skeletons and whatever, and then the next would be like the mummy's tomb, and we had a paper mache mummy. And so I was always, and apparently this was all my idea, and I told my mom that we were going to do a haunted yard with grandma, and grandma didn't know that I had already in my brain I confirmed it with her.
What age is this? What age is
This is
that?
so this is 5 years old to
Oh my
9 years old.
god! And
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
loved like
Four,
you
4 years old.
loved the kind of like the darker stuff as a
I
kid. You just
did.
you like ghosts. You like the skeletons. You thought they were fun.
My parents, I'm sorry, my grandparents showed me a lot of the black and white Universal monsters,
Mhm.
Godzilla, stuff like that. That when we would vacation, and come to find out, I think it was when my parents were getting a divorce, so they just took
Mm.
me out of the situation. My parents are the best, but it was during a
But they
time where
didn't belong together.
I
Yeah.
did not need to be in the house.
How I feel about
So
my parents. I'm like, hey, I love my parents. They
yeah,
didn't need to belong
they
together.
right, and that's bless them for that. But anyway, I always liked that stuff, and then eventually it turned into watching movie magic on TV. It was like A&E show, I think, maybe it was,
Mhm.
so I was really interested in special effects and all these things until I realized that I didn't have like any real physical ability to sculpt or make things
It takes a
myself.
lot of time to
It
become an
takes a lot,
artist on that
man.
level.
That yeah,
And
and any
directing is like, I just gotta make sure the talented people show up, and then,
yeah, yeah, I
I just
can.
gotta be like, "Hey, let's cheerlead a little bit and
And that's
stand over
part of it.
there."
It's being
It
a
is.
people person too. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that about myself. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure out how I'm supposed to tell stories if I'm supposed to be a storyteller. Like what is my medium? And then
You
I
talking
took
about the
some.
5-year-old who was doing the horror, or are you talking about yourself now? Like, where do you see
I
yourself,
mean
like
both. I mean it's
okay.
well,
It is a constant process, but
it's
yes.
a yeah, no, it I would say up until actually out of film school. So, I mean, it
Where
took
was
me a
that?
while.
Talk to me about that.
I went to Syracuse University,
Okay.
and I went to there's 2 film programs up there. I went to the College of Visual and Performing Arts, which is more of the art school mentality versus the
Liberal arts.
communications. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
You're getting a general
Um,
education.
yeah, well, so no, this one
Recommended.
well,
Right.
no, the film program that I went to was art school, period,
Okay.
even though it was at Syracuse University.
All
But
right. They're going to make you
there
homeless. That is their
yes.
goal. They're like,
Yeah, yeah,
"You
yeah, yeah.
will be in debt forever."
They were
Okay.
milking me
You
for yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Sure.
I got to shoot on 16 millimeter film. I got to make, it gave me, I was shooting projects my second semester freshman year, where if you're in the communications program, you don't touch a camera until your junior year.
Let's talk theory.
Yeah,
Shut
no,
up. No, I get you. I think you need a blend of both.
Yeah, and so I mean, it was intensive, but I got to fuck around with a lot of equipment and styles and stuff like. So that's where Phantasm came out of. That was my senior thesis, leaving Syracuse. So
a documentary was something that is a little cheaper. It's not production intensive, financially,
correct.
and the subjects are there. Point a camera at them.
Yes, yeah, and that's what I did, and I had actually, it was my first venture into crowdfunding, which was there. And I was successful because I got to spread the word, and obviously the horror community, especially if you're going to do a documentary about the thing that they love, which is conventions and seeing people, and so it ended up being and that's how I met Matt, actually, was through Phantasm.
Yeah, you got a microphone over there? Like, no. If I ever needed to kill Matt, I would throw a microphone into the freeway.
Yeah. He was like, what model is that?
Hey, let's talk about Legos. No, Matt's not a Lego guy. He'd be like, let's talk about, I don't know, like
DVDs.
Idiosyncratic. Yeah. I would take it. This is how I'm gonna kill Matt one day.
Okay.
Go ahead and use this against me in the case. I gotta take a microphone, tape it to a DVD of like, I don't know, it'll be a double disc of like I don't know, some garbage, Weekend at Bernie's 1 and 2, right? and be like, and then I'll take a microphone, I'll tape it to it, and I'll throw it out in like a freeway, like the 95 over there.
Yeah.
Dude.
And there's this one.
Matt'll be like, there's a microphone. Somebody threw out this Weekend at Bernie's double disc DVD. I don't know why he suddenly has a Western, but he's like, somebody threw out this Weekend at Bernie's double disc DVD. I don't have this as a double disc. It's something I'll just Photoshop it.
It won't even be a legit.
He'll be like, hey, a release this must be the European reissue of Weekend at Bernie's 1 and 2. It's a double disc.
20 minutes of extra footage on both movie.
Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have it on a fishing line off of like a overpass.
Yeah,
and I'll just dangle it right there. Dangle it, and he gets out there. He's reaching for it, right? And then I'll drop a microphone. He'll be caught. He'll be like, "Do I go for the microphone and talk about the Weekend at Bernie's double disc, or do I go for the
on either lane of the highway, northbound, southbound?"
And then the second you really want to keep him at the freeway, you just have him grab the microphone, and he's like, did you know that there were 2 stakeout movies, and the second one when Rosie O'Donnell joined the cast? Like, no, stop it.
It's another stakeout. It's a
second another stakeout
too, but it's another
Richard Dreyfuss's best work. It's like Batman, right? Like Batman has to know how to take out the Justice League.
Right, yeah. So
Superman goes bad.
This is very important strategy.
You got to know, like the Tower of Babel storyline in the DC Comics was where the villains cracked the Bat computer in the Batcave, and they found out that Batman had all these damn files on all the Justice League, which was like, use this kind of starch and Wonder Woman's undies. Like, I don't know what her weakness is. You know what I mean? Like, they were like, do this.
But there's something in there. There's something usable in there.
Put a different type of saline in Wonder Woman in Aquaman's bathtub, and then like the villains just took out the Justice League quick. and they were like, and so like Batman was like, guess I should have changed the passwords on the Bat computer because the Justice League's done. And
every 6 months, Bruce, come on.
He had to go and like save the Justice League, and obviously the Justice League like, dude, you're out, bro. And that was like a big storyline. So like with Geekscape, maybe I shouldn't be saying this on the podcast. With every podcaster that joins, like Matt tells me, hey, we're gonna join the show. Matt, you don't know this. I do intensive research.
He already knows
on how to kill each. If I had to take out any of the Geekscapists, any of them, like I know how to do it, right?
Yeah. You'll know how to take me out by the end.
It's basically just taking whatever pop culture garbage we obsess about and hanging it off the bridge.
Very simple.
Simple.
So you already have it all planned out. You just need like an inventory.
The problem with the inventory is like Heidi comes in the office and she's like, Jonathan, why do you have all these like hentai videos hanging from fishing poles? And I'm like, Shane's getting out of hand. I have to take him out. I have to kill Shane. I'm sorry.
You put a bandana on, and then you're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Gotta take him out. Tell me about this new film. And Geekscape is again, the Woodsman is on online now. You can check it out. But you got this new thing,
Oh,
The Wound
not
Within.
yet. It will be.
Oh, it's not
It
on.
will be.
Oh,
No,
I know what
it
it
will
did.
be in July.
It played in the Christmas in July. We mentioned
It
that. Sorry
did.
about that.
It did have a
Sorry about that,
special
Geekscapers.
burst, which I mean, Matt said he went back and edited it out, but there's a potential
Yeah,
edit.
film festival ain't gonna love that, but
Yeah,
but it's all good. It's all good.
it's all
They're not
good.
gonna.
Yeah. No, we're looking at July for that, and I'll be able to announce more soon. But
Okay.
yeah, we're looking for like a Christmas in July situation,
All right.
which I'm very excited about because I don't want to wait until Christmas. I'm like, it's a Christmas short. Like I can't just like drop it randomly, you know. So
No,
I
do
gotta,
something fun.
yeah. So
Okay, this is
that's
you
what we're
do.
looking for.
I want you to go to Seattle.
Yeah, I know. I want to go to
You
Seattle
gotta have
too.
your
I'm gonna
kid.
abandon my child.
No, don't abandon him. Have him cosplay as your Kato
Oh, okay.
or basket case.
Oh, that would be sick. That would be sick. That would get a lot of laughs. I think we could do that.
Put your 2-year-old
in a basket
case. Yeah, and have him as the kid in basket. The Siamese twin in basket case.
The layer of this that's hysterical to me is the kid is so active that if I even try to keep him in one place for like more than a minute, he's gonna lose his damn mind.
It all works because didn't the dude try and keep him in a closet and that didn't work?
Yeah,
it all tracks.
You can't keep a bad Belial down for sure. Belial.
I've been ignoring your comments, Geekscapes, and I'm sorry about that. I just love Kyle and I love getting to know him. But Jackknife says Incelbot kills the Geekscape universe. Yeah, it does. That is the comic book that'll happen. Matt says, is that fucking English?
No.
Okay, I'm just gonna read this verbatim and hopefully it makes sense to you, Geekscapists. This is Matt Kelly speaking. Not it's definitely gone. You either saw it live or missed it forever. I think he's talking about editing it out, but this is why he doesn't do too much of the social media for Geekscape. Not it's definitely gone.
It's definitely gone. You either saw it live or missed it. Okay. Yeah, which is
true.
true.
I think it was a no, and then he says in parentheses until it's available in July. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for the clarification. Thank you for the clarification that only made things more confusing, Matt. Is anything more Matt Kelly than that lovable exchange of conflicting ideas? Okay, this new one, The Wound Within. You got to tell me about this one because it feels tonally different.
It does.
Than,
So, The Wound
Where'd
Within
this come from?
is So The Wound Within actually, I mean, it came out of the Woodsman existing. My best friend Jeanette Wall, who I've known since Syracuse, was and has always been interested in horror, and I love her. She credits me for being part of that, but she is also a much more researched and like in tune person to the things that she likes, particularly when it comes to horror. She actually started a podcast called Horrors of Love just recently. It's on its fourth episode.
Matt, slow down. Did you just hear the revolving door of Matt flying out to try and get her on the network? Did you hear that?
Matt is aware.
You know when the Flash hits the Speed Force? Did you fucking hear that? Jesus.
And they just released an episode about Creep and Creep 2, the Duplass brother, or Mark Duplass's movie. I don't know if it was the brother or just him, but anyway, it's a deep dive. The podcast is a deep dive into horror movies with a guest, but through the lens of love, gender, sexuality, what I consider all the good stuff. And so as opposed to like, horror movie night where we talk about the movie for maybe like 5-10 minutes and then, just, talk about whatever the fuck.
Your subject matter isn't exactly, I mean, you guys are all great, but it's always a little schlockier.
It's not as,
it's very much hanging with your boys and talking horror movies, which is the appeal of it.
Yeah. But, so Jeanette, had been really wanting to do something with all this energy and this knowledge and inspiration and stuff, and I think layered. Yes, exactly. And she works in the music industry, and it's one of those things where it's just like sometimes there's something just needs an opportunity just needs to kind of like open up, or a window needs to kind of open up, and sometimes they're just small windows, but something happened and something clicked, and she set out and she wrote this short script about, which is a horror allegory for addiction recovery. She talks a lot about, she's been in other 12-step programs before and talked about her experiences in that.
Are you putting somebody who's on an anonymous program on blast, or is this
I believe she talks about it in the in the Seed and Spark, or at least talks about her experiences not within herself, but at least within
Matt's
the
like,
other
that's the thing with
aspects.
Kyle. You keep having to edit things out of your podcast when you have them on. I'm
I
kidding. I'm
hope
kidding.
I love Jeanette, and I think that she
It's all
really
towards a good
yeah. Oh,
place.
she really honed in on this allegory, and she approached me with it and asked if I would direct it. I think that the Woodsman was originally a episode of television that was 23 pages that with 8 characters that I minimized to 11 pages with 1 character. And part of it was due to COVID, but part of it actually made it a better story. So I think that it was one of those things, like knowing that you can do a small scale and talk about, the Woodsman has a lot of comedy notes, but it is inherently
And I would argue
about
it's not just one character.
no, and
I mean,
yes, agreed. There's one
there's
actor,
there's
but
one actor, but guys, it's fun. I can't
yeah.
wait for y'all to see it in July. Okay,
Thank you.
sorry about
Thank
that,
you.
but like,
No, that's
yeah,
okay. I appreciate it. You don't have to be
and I
sorry.
don't think I'm giving away like, and it's not 2 actors. Like, there's it's not 2 characters. Like, it's
Yeah.
fun, guys.
Yeah.
Continue, please.
But
I'm
no,
sorry.
thank you. No, please. It's all good. So, it was saying something a little bit more in the context, which is always what horror is. Horror is always saying more under
Good
the
horror.
guise that it's not a lot, or that it's sometimes, I mean, it just always gets a bad rap. We always talk about this. And I think that the tides are changing quite a bit, and probably the past 10 years, really. Like, there's a lot more education about horror and what horror is as a genre or as a medium, like just period.
You know what?
Medium.
You can't be like talking about fucking Demon Wind every episode and then be saying this, okay, pal? Because like, I hear what you're saying. I agree with you 100%. That's the good stuff.
Well,
that's the ideal.
That's the
Monster.
So.
Yeah, and y'all are like, but Demon Wind, like when the magician's doing karate kicks, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So
not everything has something to say.
Not everything has to be heady, folks.
No,
Things could just be fun.
Yeah,
but it sounds like the Woodsman, y'all were you wanted to do some cool stuff, and you wanted to do some fun stylistic stuff.
Yeah.
It's not. It feels like Raimi-esque. It feels like it's educated by all the stuff you and I love. This one feels like it's a little bit more psychological, emotional. And it's got a little bit of body horror, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's educated by other things. So like exactly what you're saying. I mean, the Woodsman is educated by a certain thing. It's like, a little bit of Raimi, a little bit of Tales from the Crypt, a little bit of like, stuff like that. And this is very much, we're looking at some of those 70s, I reference House of Psychotic Women, which was a beautiful sort of like memoir / like reference text for those movies from the 70s and 80s and 60s, I mean, in 60s, but mostly 70s, 80s, that involved women who were treated as, psychologically damaged. And that's where the horror came from, and like all these things. And then leading into a little bit of body horror, a little bit of like, what is happening to my body and how is that affecting my mind and my heart, and also how I interact with the world. So it's a little bit headier, but it's also something that I also feel that people can connect with. It's not this type of addiction that we talk about is not of necessarily the drug and alcohol clear cut kind.
Sense, no.
Yeah, no, it's not literal. It's more about a relational addiction and this idea of trying to connect with a person, but then you have your own wounds, the wounds within. You have your own things that you either see on other people that they don't recognize, or that you're putting your own. It's a little more, I don't want to say ambiguous, but it's a cyclical thing that people get into. And if we can represent that with a little horror, then so be it.
Okay, so films, short films. Like, did you ever see Kitchen Sink? The New Zealand movie?
No.
You can find it on the internet, but I think it's called Kitchen Sink. It's the woman who's like cleaning her place, and she finds the hair in her drain, and she pulls it, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until she pulls like a fetus out of her drain.
Right.
And it's hairy and it's nasty, and there's a baby, and then she like puts it in the bathtub to clean it, and it starts to grow. And Geekscape, so I'm not gonna. It's gross, but it's from like 89, 90.
Okay.
And it's a New Zealand film, I believe. I don't think it's Australian. I think it's New Zealand, and that one's great. The other one this reminds me of is what's the name of that comic? And I'm so sorry, Geekscape, is about the kids. It's body horror. Kids go into the woods and the STDs cause you. They're having sex in the woods. They're teenagers, and the STDs aren't. You can't hide them. It's like you grow like an ear on your forehead, or you grow like an elephant trunk, or your ears go crazy. It's called black hole. Thank you, Matt Kelly, in the comments. Black hole, and it was black hole is like one of those things that like directors have always been circling to turn into, because it's like really gross.
My wife
stuff.
recommends that one to me a lot, and I've just never.
Have you not read it?
No, I've not read it, but we have it in our library. I just never.
Black hole's fantastic.
Yeah.
You got to be in the mood because it'll make you grossed out real fast.
Yeah.
The Wound Within just sounds like. Listen to this. Here's the literal plot from the. I'm just reading this from your Season Spark. A young woman discovers a mysterious lesion on her chest. The morning after a disappointing tryst with a new lover. Throughout the rest of her day, she finds that she may not be the only one who's experiencing these unsightly symptoms. While questioning her reality and the reality of others, she looks down the barrel of a problem that may take more than a glass of wine, a quick fix ointment, or even a heart-to-heart with a friend to solve. So some of this might be in her mind. Some of this stuff might be perception of others, herself. That I think it's great, man. Geekscape is.
Thank you.
You're gonna want to like go to Seed and Spark and search for The Wound Within, and then when you find the page, let's start dropping some of those bucks into there.
So we have some really cool incentives too. I actually maybe I should have talked to Matt and Scott about this, but I offered my own movie choice for the Horror Movie Night podcast to particular people who might support us and back us. So one of those incentives is actually picking a movie for either Horror Movie Night a la me or for Horrors of Love through Jeanette. But even before that, even on the $10 incentive, it's a social media shout out and some information and updates via the normal Seed and Spark email system. And then we have Got the Itch, which is for $25, and that's going to do a personalized profile picture with the wound within there. You're going to get the digital download code from our original score by Rebecca Raskolziak, which is definitely not how she told me to pronounce her last name. But here it is. But they are the lead guitarist and singer for Bethlehem Steel, which is a lovely band that we've known since college. So them bringing their music to this. And actually, you'll hear a little bit if you watch the Seed and Spark video. You'll hear some of the score in that video. So you'll get the link to the download for the soundtrack and the film when it's all said and done. But the $50 one, which we call It's Still Bleeding, you'll get a limited edition cassette of the soundtrack plus the digital download code, an 8x10 of the production signed by our whole cast and crew. We're a small but mighty team. You'll get some Horror Movie Night trading cards and a Horrors of Love podcast sticker and or button. Then in our $100 tier, which we call Medical Attention, you'll be credited as an associate producer. You can choose the film, which I discussed before. You're going to get a physical photo album of behind the scenes stills. We're going to bring a disposable camera on set like really just have a lot of fun with it. So you'll get like a personal like photo album of our set, which is going to be a weekend shoot in Connecticut. We're going to have a lot of fun. You'll get a DVD.
Yet, or you don't talk dates yet?
Yeah, no, we're well, I mean, we have ones that we're looking at.
Oh, sorry, Jonathan. It's during Comic-Con.
Yeah. We are. We're looking at the end of June. So it gives us enough time after after the campaign ends to get those funds, to give money to our makeup effects artists, to get.
There's $100 tier, a $500. Well, how much do I got to pay to have a movie discussed on the Horror Movie Night podcast? Because we got to do this weekend at Bernie's 2-pack. What I got?
It's gonna be $100. Yeah,
$100. Okay, $100.
I mean, I have to run it by the boys, but
no, you don't. You didn't run this past them.
This is true.
You don't. You don't got to run nothing past them. Listen, listen, Geekscape is if you want Matt Kelly. Well, really, Scott Roger. I think Matt's going to be like, I love that movie. But Scott, I think Scott will be like, you're making me watch what?
Yeah.
I love Scott. He's got the lofty ideals. He thinks the world can still be saved through podcasting. And he's like, damn you. You know, Scott. I see the critiques y'all get. Mm-hmm. It's like, Scott, what a leftist. Scott, I love Scott's idealism.
Scott's right, but
yeah, Scott's right. But what are we going to do about it?
People don't like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I decided to throw my my hat in the ring and like run for president, and change the world, and be a better person because I listened to a horror show where they were talking about the prophecy and Man Bear Pig, and I was like, oh, now I see it all.
Yeah.
Society becomes clear to me. Thank you, Scott Roger.
Open
This
up
is
your
definitely
eyes.
the platform for that. I'm kidding, Scott. I love you. Keep doing what you're doing, dude. I love Scott.
Don't
And
stop, Scott.
the numbers show that people love you too, Scott. I'm just being silly, but you're gonna end up talking Weekend at Bernie's 1 and 2 because
thank God
we're doing this.
That's a horror movie. There's a dead guy in the whole thing.
Hell yeah, it's a horror movie. It's like an attempt at a reanimation of a corpse.
2 might not be, but 1 is for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
2
might be even horrifying just because it's a sequel to said movie.
I gotta tell you, I never finished it. It's one of the only movies I've walked out of. And I did that at I did it at a young age, obviously. Like, I don't know when the movie came out, but
you stood for something.
I might have been single digits, and I knew that movie sucked. Right? Like, but so which means that Matt's like, maybe I'll put it on this tonight. Hey, y'all just reminded me. I've got this great Weekend at Bernie's.
I found it on the freeway. your plan didn't work.
Jonathan's hiding behind a bush. He has a snorkel. He comes up from the skookle to see if his plan works.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on here?
Pennsylvania.
I'm going. Oh, fuck. Matt, of course, pops up in the thing, and it pops up in the comments and goes, 2's more horror inspired because voodoo is used to raise the dead. Okay.
This is why I love Matt.
Go
I love you,
back.
Matt.
Get out of here, Matt.
But yeah, so those are some of our incentives, and then our biggest tier is you become an executive producer. You get a
Cocaine and Babes.
Painting. You get an original painting by a writer, Jeanette, and there's a couple other things in there too. But I've crowdfunded before, and it's scary, but I've been so thankful for the support for all of our projects, and this is one that, because it's Jeanette's really first film, they have a circle of people and supporters that are. It's almost like I don't need to be like a part of it so much, other than the fact that
the white guy speak
direct it.
Let's do it.
Well, that's the thing.
Scott Rogers like, why is a white guy speaking for you're silencing women?
Well, we have such an amazing team already of women and non-binary folk, and then there's me and my partner Bill Fulkerson. And we're gonna only have more of that. I feel like we're a very diverse, inclusive group of people, which is always what I want my sets to be anyway. I've always been that. What we were talking when we were talking earlier, Jonathan.
Well, diverse ideas are just gonna make it better.
Yeah, exactly. And what we were talking about earlier, when you had kind of asked the question, like when I was narrowing down how I wanted to be a storyteller, and I was not sure if even like being the director was what I wanted to do. Anything more than that, more than being a director and having like my thoughts end up being the end product, right? More than anything, I want to always have and run a set where people feel included and collaborative and supported and safe, and that there's a lot of empathy, and that's because we hear so many horror stories from out there in the field, both at a studio level and at an independent level. I mean, it's hard to do, and I'm not saying that my sets will be perfect or but the intention of such,
they won't always be. Yes,
no, but setting the intention and setting the priority to have a set run that way is just as important to me as the end product, because those people who work on that are going to remember that experience more than they're going to remember the end product. You know what I mean?
We went over on the first day at Josie, on the Josie Cotton video that we were talking about earlier. Like we went over by a couple hours, and everyone knew they were getting overtime.
Yeah.
The party kept going. Nobody felt like the day was going long. We just had so much fun shooting weird stuff, and we were shooting all this weird genre stuff. And at the end of the day, Pete Alton, who was the DP, I love Pete. He shot When Ninjas Attack, some of it for me, and at the same time he was shooting When Ninjas Attack, he was shooting James Gunn's PG porn back for old. I think it was like Break Media or Adam Films or something like that.
Right.
So I loved working with. I don't know, but like I
Yeah.
loved working with Pete again
Yeah.
because he gets the language.
He
Like
gets it.
he's a weirdo like us. And at the end of the day, he's like, we got better footage than we deserved. Because like that, I was like, that's kind of a weird sentiment, but he's like, we got better footage than we deserved on that day because we were shooting a lot of weird stuff. We were driving we were driving hard, but it just didn't feel hard because we were just having so much fun. On day 2, the other thing is like, you know, people, you know, the PAs, the grips, everybody looks up and Jonathan's carrying the like I'm carrying the slider and I'm carrying stuff for the dollies and they're like, we love it when a director carries stuff. And I was like, oh, I got exteriors at the end of the day and the fucking sun's going down. Like,
right, I need to carry something.
I lost an entire set. Like I've already lost a scene. Like there was a scene we were supposed to do on a staircase. That went. I mean, the video's stuffed. I don't need more scenes. The video's stuffed. But but there was a sequence that we cut as we realized we weren't going to make our day, and we had exteriors. But you just carry, like, it's fun. Like you hear Tarantino does like those extra takes where he go. Have you heard this? Like Tarantino does those extra takes, and he goes, "Let's do one more." After everybody knows they have it. Like that was amazing. Everybody thought that was an amazing take. You have it. He goes, "Let's do one more." Why? And then everybody there, including Leo and Brad Pitt, and everybody goes, because we love movies. And by the end of like the first day, everyone's cheering that because he's throwing in extra takes and everybody's just there having fun. And no one's putting down stuff and walking. I've heard so many of those stories from collaborators where they're like, oh yeah, last video, like people just at the 12th hour, we're like, fuck that. I'd rather spend this time with my kids. They put the equipment down. That's your problem now. I gotta walk. I don't care what you pay me. This and that. And
and like
I avoided that.
Well, and I get that mentality too, and like but
unless the kid's ugly,
right, right. Unless that the kid's a monster. But you know, but at the same time, it's like all I want to do is make sure that there is a space that people don't feel like they're being like used, because this shit is hard. Like this is hard stuff to do for yourself, and then ask other people to trust in you to be a part of that. So
phases of it are hard,
especially at this independent level,
demoralizing.
And
you're like, where's the end of the tunnel? But at the end of the day,
if I can cut that stuff out of any set that I'm on, or at least minimize it to the level that is like not appropriate. None of it's appropriate, but at least manageable. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Well, you know, and so that's why, like, on my sets, like, at least while I can, you know, I make sure there's at least like one like mom cooked meal. You know, it's like the least I can do, like, because everybody's getting a little bit under their rate. Like,
and we broke.
Yeah, dude.
And we broke, Mom.
Mom, where's the chickens
now?
Yeah, we gotta go. But you know,
I should have gone to that Seattle Horror Festival when you were born, boy. You son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Come get your slop. I'm sick of your friends.
Yeah. Well, she hasn't said it yet, bless her.
Okay.
But you know, but it's, and I have, you know, luckily, as we were talking about a little bit at the top, like being here in Connecticut, that, you know, everybody's working on an independent level right now. So we're all artists in some way, and we all want to make something. So I feel very fortunate to be surrounded by people, both artists and then my family, who want to make these things happen and see them happen and continue to like make them happen here in this area. So, you know, I was in LA and I did my time, so to speak. And I do hope to like come back at some point in time and work again out there, because I did love when I worked.
Come right before Comic-Con, and then
yeah, right, and then maybe make a trip down to San Diego, and then
hang out,
just a little bit, just a couple weeks, whatever.
Please, if so, can we add an incentive for $1,000 where people can take Shane's spot at Comic-Con? Come on down.
Perfect, that'd be fun.
He almost peed on Josh one night. Like, come on.
It'll be a blast.
He almost peed on Josh's head one night.
Why wouldn't you want to pay for that? Come on.
Someone take Shane's spot at Comic-Con and host his podcast. Please.
Shane, I think Jonathan likes you.
You may be able to pee on. I'm not speaking for Josh. I'm about to see Derek. Derek's coming to town for WrestleMania. He and Josh are going to go to WrestleMania.
Man. Oh, Mania!
I'm getting the hell out of town. I'm like, WrestleMania's in town. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm going to Austin. But my brother Paul's getting inducted in the Indie Wrestling Hall of Fame. I'm sadly missing it. That's
I
fucking
saw.
great.
I did not realize your brother was Paul London. And
Yeah.
that's very cool. Congratulations to him for being inducted. GCW
Cool.
does the
I
Independent
don't
Hall
know.
of Fame.
I don't know.
I didn't know that was a thing, man. That's really cool that
He
he's
has a
doing it.
show Thursday,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Come see the show." So I'm going to see the show on Thursday.
Mhm.
I hope Derek can come with me,
Yeah.
and then I have to go straight to the
Oh
airport and fly
yeah,
to
dude. I forgot
Austin.
everybody descends upon LA
Everybody
or
descends upon
wherever.
it.
I'm sorry,
I
wherever
think
WrestleMania is.
Megaran from the Geekscape Network is here.
Yeah.
We got all
Oh
sorts
yeah,
of
he's yeah.
people here. So I'm getting the
And
heck
you're
out of
scooting.
here. I'm scooting, and
You're
it
good.
stinks because I got the tickets. I organized a bunch of stuff in Austin because it's the first time back home with Heidi as my bride,
Yeah.
and people getting to meet Heidi,
Yeah.
who didn't make the wedding. And Paul hits us up a few days ago or last week. It was like, "Hey, I'm getting inducted to the Indie Wrestling Hall of Fame on Sunday," and I was like, "Dude,
Dude.
I want to be there so bad." And so I don't know. I hope there's video. I hope there's it's terrible.
You'll figure it out.
But
That sucks.
well, I'm
That
not
you're
gonna.
not
I
gonna
mean,
be there.
the figuring out is I'm not gonna be there. I'll be in Austin. And Geekscape is you're gonna get in our filmmaker next week. We've got this guy John Schwab. He's got this movie One Day as a Lion that Scott Conn wrote. Scott Conn's the lead in it. JJ
Amazing.
Simmons is in it. Frank Grillo. It's a fun little crime movie where Scott Conn like plays like the most incompetent assassin hitman ever, and it's fun. He gets involved with the wrong people and has to get out of it. It's a fun movie, and John and I are going to talk about it recorded, and then I'll put it on the feed next week and talk about when the movie comes out. It's called One Day as a Lion. It looks fun. The trailer's good. It looks fun. I watched the damn movie. It is fun. So we're talking filmmakers, and then I got other people coming. It's gonna be a lot of fun, Geekscape. We got a lot of great guests coming up, and I'm super excited. Kyle, thanks for doing this, man. I was like, if we don't talk enough filmmaking and we don't have enough to talk about, we can talk about like John Wick 4, which I thought was fun, silly, fun, loved it.
Yeah.
And I saw the new Zelda play. Like there's video footage of like the play style and like playable footage of Tears of the Kingdom, the new Zelda game, and it's fucking awesome, man. You can like fuse things together. You can like fuse a boulder to a stick and make a club, and like you can like you can craft things like you can put like propellers on like a raft that you put together and go across a river or stuff. Like it's fun. I'm like, but I'm all for that. Like I'm Zelda and John Wick and all that stuff. If you're interested in that stuff, like I don't always get the time or want the time to talk about that stuff here on Geekscape because I like the interview. That's what I wanted to do when I was a kid. I wanted to do interviews. Letterman, those people, I loved them.
Yeah, man.
That stuff's more important to me than being like, hey, this is what I think of the most recent thing. I love that stuff. Sometimes I put that stuff on TikTok. There's other places for that, and there's other places for that.
I haven't seen a recent thing in at least 3 years, so I'm way behind. I'm way behind. So don't worry about it. That's why I'm on Horror Movie Night, where we talk about things 10 years or older.
But creative conversations with creative people, like that is what I want to talk about. That's what the Geek show's for. We got a whole network for the rest of it. We have these kids on Bingetown TV. Of course, you're going to want to watch Bingetown TV because like Mandalorian's out and all these bingeable shows, and they're working their way through Last of Us and all this great stuff from HBO. So Geekscape is go to the network, listen to Kyle. If you enjoyed Kyle here, listen to him being talked over by Scott and Matt on Horror Movie Night. You won't get as much Kyle as you got here. I tried talking over him, but never to the point where Matt does. I can throw in some like, and I can just say like, and I can laugh and then say like if you are missing the Matt Kelly experience.
Like,
and I can say, well, actually, if you're missing the Scott Roger experience, but I think we've had our own thing here. This should have been freeing for you.
I loved it. I was
Well,
very honored. Because I already recorded Horror Movie Night literally before this, so I did my time.
Oh, you did your time with the actually I love you, Matt. Don't fucking change. I swear.
Don't change, Matt.
Get me that horror movie. Go get me that podcast. Oh, there's the siren right there. Do you hear it? Geekscape us.
Yeah.
Matt Kelly's out there. I think he just kidnapped your writer of The Wound Within and is like, I'm not releasing you until I have your podcast.
I need a podcast.
He says, Jackknife says, great show, great chat about killing Matt Kelly on the highway.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, that was the high. That's
what other podcast is going to bring that to you? And Matt Kelly's here and he says, unsubscribe. Well, you're in good company, Matt, because the show's been around long enough for lots of people to have unsubscribed. But If you want to subscribe, well, great. If you like the show, share it with your friends. Be like, hey, Geekscape's fun. They talk to filmmakers, comic book creators, video game people, actors, all sorts of people. And I love it. So tell your friends to subscribe, write those 5-star reviews, do all the things that get the podcast out there and shareable and all that stuff. I love that the numbers are not going to say, numbers are a little rough. I think, Matt, across the network, numbers are a little rough coming back into the holiday. They always are in like January, February. And now they're coming back up, and I'm excited that we're on the road to Comic-Con and more exciting stuff coming. So Geekscape us, subscribe, share, and then also go visit Kyle over at Horror Movie Night and be like, I loved you on Geekscape. It's fun to hear your voice.
Yeah. Come say hi.
Come say it. Be like, oh, so that's what Kyle sounds like when he's being talked over by 2 other guys.
Yeah.
Man, I'm kidding. I'm just roasting. I love you guys. I love all 3 of the HMNers.
It happens, though. It happens. Well, usually I'm drinking a beer that accompanies the movie, and then that just opens the floodgates for.
What do you call the fans? What do you call the Horror Movie Night fans? Because I have a name.
Lovers.
You don't have like a name friends. Like I have Geekscapists here. I was like, hey, Geekscapists.
Unless Matt, Scott, Brian, or Adam had something before I showed up, but I don't think
it's so. HMN.
Yeah.
HMN. I call them hormones.
Hormones. Nice.
What's up, hormones?
So I don't hate that.
Horror. Moans. Hormones.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Want that? Yeah, okay, take it. Like everything I've built with Geekscape.
It's yours. It's yours.
Going to take it eventually. Love you guys. Subscribe, do all that stuff. We're going to be back next week with director John Schwab. It's subscribe to the audio because that's where I'm going to put it first, okay? If Matt Kelly, final word, he says, we just call them confused. Love you guys, and no, don't call them horror morons. Love you guys. We'll talk to you next week. Peace. Bye.